How trauma, unmet needs, and lack of purpose fuel romantic obsession. I'm Ben Ufana, and as the case in so many of the articles and videos I'm creating, there's so much depth and detail, far more than I could possibly remember, so I will be reading directly from the article. Let's dive in. Romantic obsession can be thrilling, at least initially, especially if your longing and desire for the other person is being reciprocated. You're feeling the passion, the burning desire, and you want to spend every possible moment with this individual, talking with them for hours on end, and when you're not together, you're thinking about them constantly. More often than not, the love you feel goes unrequited. Worst of all, you fear being abandoned, yet you've formed a tenuous bond with someone who leaves you feeling profoundly vulnerable and insecure. Someone who often says and does things that leave you feeling hurt, yet no matter how much pain they've caused, you find it damn near impossible to let go. And this isn't just about attraction, there's something deeper going on. Many people who struggle with romantic obsession are not just dealing with attraction or attachment. In many cases, they lack a clear sense of purpose and are operating without a strong internal foundation. This is especially true for those who have experienced significant trauma or neglect. They're often operating with profound deficits. Their most basic needs, including those for love and connection, were never fully met, leaving them with, and at times, overwhelming sense of emotional hunger. Because that foundation was never developed, it becomes much harder to remain grounded and stable, especially when powerful emotions begin to surface. When they meet someone they feel strongly about, that person can quickly become everything. There's often a strong biochemical component as well. Dopamine, oxytocin, vasopressin. The experience can feel intense, overwhelming, and even fated. They project meaning onto this person, believing they've found the one, when in reality, much of what they're experiencing is being generated internally. That hunger, that sense of emotional starvation can become insatiable, creating a heightened sense of need and dependency that pulls them further out of themselves. Their life begins to revolve around the person they've become attached to, even when the relationship is unstable, unrequited, or deeply painful. When someone lacks a clear sense of direction or purpose, there's nothing to anchor them. There's no meaningful work, no deeper calling, no clear sense of what they're building or moving toward. In this vacuum, a person or relationship can easily take on that role. The person we formed an attachment to or become involved with becomes not only our focus, but our source of meaning and our emotional center. And that's where things begin to unravel, because no relationship can carry that kind of weight, at least not indefinitely. Even if you do have a sense of purpose, it's still possible to lose yourself. You meet someone and there's something about them that elicits a strong emotional intensity coupled with a powerful biochemical response. You find yourself flooded with dopamine, oxytocin, and other neurochemicals. And it leaves you feeling an overwhelmingly strong sense of passion, desire, and attraction. And before you know it, you're off track. You start prioritizing this person and the relationship above everything else. You lose focus, momentum, and even your sense of self. Suddenly, everything you were building begins to slip away. At the age of 14, when I first heard about the traditional Native American doctors and their ability to facilitate healing, I thought to myself, if I'm ever given the opportunity, this is what I will do with my life. At 17, I left on my own, made it as far as Oklahoma, lived among a community of predominantly Kiowa Indians, attended peyote meetings with the native elders, and that's where I eventually met my mentor, Horace Dulkai, one of their last surviving traditional doctors who I apprenticed with for 3 years before returning to college. In my mid-20s, the traumas of my childhood and adolescence began to resurface, and I found myself forming attachments to women who were disinterested, unavailable, and a few were quite abusive. In the midst of all that convoluted drama, I lost sight of my vision. My need at that time was so great that my life began to revolve around these women, and that sent me into a destructive spiral, leaving me more ungrounded, more vulnerable, and in a place where I experienced a great deal of pain. My thinking at that time was, if I can just find the right partner, then I can focus on what I'm here to do. The reality is, I had it totally ass backwards. Suffering as badly as I was determined to do whatever it took to heal. At the same time, I was still motivated by the desire to find someone I could partner with. I primarily relied on the series of meditation practices I developed, practices that awaken the innate healing intelligence residing within the body and mind, along with Qigong. While I wasn't all that consistent at first, I gradually worked myself up to practicing for hours at a time. More than anything else, it was the Vision Quest, a traditional Native American practice that involves going out alone to fast in the mountains for 4 days and nights without food and water, that had the most profound impact on my healing. As I continued progressing in the healing of these deeper emotional wounds, an entirely new foundation began to take shape. As I became more grounded, more stable, and more resilient, I started to see things a lot more clearly. As that happened, my focus returned to what I'm here to do. At a certain point, my mindset became, I'm going to do what I need to be doing in my life, and if you can walk along beside me, that's great. I'm going to continue pursuing what I'm here to do. That doesn't mean there's no room for compromise, because relationships do involve a series of compromises. But without a strong foundation, without prioritizing healing and our own self-development and a clear sense of purpose, it becomes very easy to lose yourself in another person. We need to prioritize our own development. We can feel strongly about someone that we formed an attachment to. We want the relationship to work, yet we can't afford to have our lives revolve around them or make them the center of our universe. It's important to get a clear sense of what truly matters to you. Whatever field you go into, there are always ways to develop yourself and move forward. Pursuing your education, developing critical skills. If you're a writer, a visual artist, or a musician, there's always refining and deepening those capacities. Building something and moving forward with your life. The more you pour yourself into what you feel drawn to and are passionate about, the more clarity you'll gain about what has meaning and value in your life. We all need to prioritize healing the deeply wounded parts of ourselves. Romantic obsession is driven by the painful emotions we've internalized, many of which go all the way back to childhood and adolescence, when our most basic needs for love and care were not being met. These same feelings often resurface as we grow into adulthood, especially when we form attachments and become romantically involved. We need to acknowledge what's happening, what's being activated within us that is eliciting such powerful emotional responses, and where these feelings and sensations are situated in the body. From there, we can begin to breathe softly and deeply while fully immersing our awareness in the depths of these feelings and sensations, following them as they move through their natural progression. The wounds driving romantic obsession run extraordinarily deep. There are also aspects of this healing process that we cannot fully do on our own. We need to be making consistent use of the most effective therapeutic interventions. Deep tissue body work and working with gifted healers such as myself can be especially effective, pulling you into your body, helping you digest your lived experiences and the stagnant emotional residue held within it. And in doing so, helping you build a much stronger and healthier foundation. For many people, especially those who have experienced trauma or neglect, this is not easy. It requires time, effort, commitment, and a willingness to confront the issues and realities that are often uncomfortable. When you lack foundation, the person you formed an attachment to and the relationship itself can easily become everything. As you develop a stronger, healthier foundation, you find that you're no longer operating from that place of need, hunger, and desperation. You're no longer as easily pulled off track. You're able to feel desire, even strong attraction, without losing yourself in it. As you continue to build that foundation, you begin to feel more firmly rooted in yourself. As your foundation grows, anyone you find yourself drawn to and the relationships that form become a part of your life, not the center of it. And that can make an enormous difference. The question isn't just, why can't I let go? A more important question here is, what am I building in my own life? Because when you're grounded in that, when you have direction, purpose, and a strong internal foundation, you're far less likely to lose yourself in something that ultimately takes you off course.